When The Boys premiered in the summer of 2019, it was following Avengers Endgame, the peak of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the time, it was refreshing to watch a series which took the piss out of the saturated superhero market, but outside of the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, and Robert Downey Jr. being unveiled as Doctor Doom, Marvel hasn't been at the center of the conversation like it once was. They released a show called Secret Invasion that no one even knew about. 2019 was also the year of the final season for Game of Thrones, one of the best shows ever made that didn't stick the landing. The Boys is now approaching its own endgame. Much of Season 4 is building towards the 5th and final season. The characters spend a lot of time retreading familiar situations. How many times can the show frame a scene around Homelander making someone feel really uncomfortable before lasering them to death? Or drinking milk in a disturbing way? There's a subplot where Frenchie has a new love interest, but he's conflicted because he's the one who murdered the guy's family. It's a plot thread that comes out of and goes nowhere. It ends up with Frenchie turning himself in, only to be released because he's needed for the plot. Kimiko gets revenge on child traffickers, but it doesn't tie into the larger story. The Boys has spun its wheels a little in the past, but Season 4 is where it's most apparent that major character deaths are needed to raise the stakes of the final conflict. They have simply run out of places to go. Homelander cannot get any more powerful. Butcher is a villain at this point. The Deep continues to fornicate with sea creatures. It's the running gag of the series, but after 4 seasons, it's growing more stale. The most compelling story arc this season involves Homelander shaping the young Ryan to resemble his own malignant narcissism. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a strong addition to the cast as a CIA agent who appears like a devil on Butcher's shoulder, persuading him to commit mass murder. The battle for Ryan's soul is the central conflict, as he slowly becomes more accustomed to treating people as nothing more than toys for him to play with. The finale sets up an exciting 5th season in which most of the characters should see their end, as the comic book has a brutal finale with few survivors. The Boys is still top-tier television from a perspective of filmmaking and acting. There are tender hospital scenes in which Huey's father is on life support. The fact that showrunner Eric Kripke dedicated episode 8 to the memory of his father who lost his life recently after a battle with Parkinson's makes these emotional scenes between father and son more personal. The pop and rock needle drops have always been on the safe and predictable side. With songs from Nirvana, Talking Heads, Sex Pistols, Notorious B.I.G., and Two Live Crew, it's like hanging out with a music hipster who never evolved past mainstream major label hits. It also uses Walking on the Sun, the other song by Smash Mouth, which feels like a tribute to singer Steve Harwell, who passed away last year at the age of 56. The satire of The Boys has always been political. Kripke has been outspoken about his progressive views on social media. The villain of Season 2, released in 2020, was Stormfront, a Nazi influencer posing as a social justice warrior. And now, in another American presidential election year, Season 4 is also directly critical of right-wing ideology. It's the most divisive season yet. The final episode, about an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, had to change its name because of real-world events days before the show was going to air. The new character here is a combination of Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene, named Firecracker, a parody of conspiracy theorists who spread disinformation. Jokes about the absurdity of Jewish space lasers have been made by every late-night comedy show and half of the users of Twitter over the last few years. The humor doesn't hit as hard when it's ripped from old headlines. Starlight and Firecracker serve as a liberal versus conservative metaphor, and the show is clearly promoting one as more heroic than the other, though Annie's obsession with image and branding shows her character still has flaws. The actress who plays Starlight, Erin Moriarty, has received a lot of unnecessary ridicule over what appears to be plastic surgery she has undergone since the show began. She is simply an actress playing a character and shouldn't be harassed online and turned into a meme for personal choices about her body. Another new antagonist, Sister Sage, played by Susan Hayward, is introduced as the world's smartest person. Writing a character who is supposed to be the smartest in the world is a challenge. Her grand scheme does seem to rely on a few plot points occurring in a very specific way to achieve the end result. It's also shown that she can't be killed by a shot to the head because her brain will grow back, so intelligence is literally a superpower for her. Sage is a complete sociopath, manipulating major world events just to see if she can, but it's yet to be seen how the rest of her plan plays out. Black Noir was killed off last season, but as Black Noir is a mantle, not an individual. A new actor is in the suit. In the comic book, Noir was a Homelander clone, even more psychopathic than Homelander. This would require a lot of flashbacks and exposition to explain when it was Homelander committing atrocities and when it was Black Noir. This has all been changed from the comics to simplify Homelander as the big bad. It doesn't leave much for Black Noir to do, except to get a murder boner after killing someone.
Murder boner.
Mother Smoke has a mustache now, and he's expanded his collection of vintage hip-hop t-shirts. His conflict is between being there for his family and holding the boys together in Butcher's absence. It's the same conflict he had last season and the season before. A-Train continues his redemption arc and hopefully gets an epic final moment in Season 5. Giancarlo Esposito returns as Stan Edgar for an episode where the boys face off against mutant farm animals, but his character arc is left unresolved as he heads back to prison. Tech Knight, the comic's answer to What If Batman Was a Sex Addict, forces Huey to plant his bare ass on some chocolate cake. It's borderline pornographic, but isn't any more gratuitous than the superhero orgy scene from Season 3. Webweaver is Spider-Man as a junkie, defecating and vomiting webs. Batman and Spider-Man are probably the most beloved comic book heroes for DC and Marvel respectively, and they're reduced to one-note gags here. Gen V was released as a spin-off to The Boys, which adapted a story arc about a superhero school where the dean was sexually abusing children. It was changed into a story about a dean creating an airborne virus to commit genocide on every person with superpowers. This virus has now been incorporated into the main show. Gen V isn't on the same level as The Boys because it doesn't have heavy hitters like Carl Urban and Anthony Starr in the cast, but it still retains the hyper-violence and disgusting humor. It's not necessary viewing to understand Season 4 of The Boys, but it may come into play more in the final season as a few characters show up here working for Vought. Now that there are 2 different spin-off shows and a Soldier Boy Stormfront prequel called Vought Rising in the works, The Boys needs to end, as it's becoming the corporate juggernaut that it began as an antidote to.